Right. It's 2026 and most importantly, it's June of 2026. So here is a quick glimpse of what all happened at WWDC 2026, the developer program, and I'm super excited to share with you about what all Apple has lined up for this year. Let's go. So the biggest update that Apple brought in at WWDC 2026 was Apple unveiled its heavily powered and updated Siri AI, which is coming later this year across all Apple devices, and a lot of Apple Intelligence features. Let me take you guys through a few of them. Across all these years of having Siri as our assistant on Apple devices, it's released and it's received its most important update until date, which is how it's going to be able to break down complex tasks or complex requests that we put in and going to make it very seamless and easy for us to be able to access. So this is something that I'm super excited to use, although my device does not support Apple Intelligence, but by then maybe I'll have a better phone to possibly see how this works. An all new redesigned Siri AI interface on Apple products, where for example on the iPhone, it drops down directly from the dynamic island. And I'm assuming that this is going to make things a lot more easier because now you get to interact with Siri AI. Apple has now launched Siri AI's app that you can have, something very similar to Gemini or Perplexity, for example, wherein you can just possibly ask for whatever you have in mind and drag it down and ensure you start typing out whatever requests you have for you to make it a lot more interactive than just Siri just giving you some vague response. Although Siri has done a fantastic job over so many years now with regards to requests, with regards to I personally use Siri quite a bit when it comes to setting reminders, taking down notes, and all of this jazz, right? So it is something that I'm super duper excited about to see what Siri has in store for all Apple users across the globe. However, due to certain regulations, Europe and a couple of other countries like China are not going to get this later this year, sometime probably next year if I'm not wrong. But I really pray and hope that even though it's still the beta edition or the beta version that we're going to get, I really hope that India does get its hands on Siri AI at the earliest, because I think everybody who's been using an iPhone 16 Pro or a 17 Pro, whichever phone is basically compatible with Apple Intelligence, has been really longing to start using Apple Intelligence because all your competitors now already have it. But the contrary side to this is when some company does take time to come out with something like this, it's going to be amazing, right? So I have a lot of faith and trust in Apple that they will come out with the best version that is possibly suited across all Apple devices, and I have no two ways to think about that. Now coming to all the OS, right, the operating software 2.7, which is expected to come this fall, which is possibly in September for us as well, is the liquid glass transparency, right? Now you have a toggle wherein you can possibly choose how transparent you want it or how opaque you want it, which makes readability a lot more easier. I did find that a lot of people among my circle did not enjoy the liquid glass as much. I personally love it because of all the details that you're able to see through and read how exactly things look in the background when you're possibly toggling between apps or between all the particulars that you have in an application, right? So I really love liquid glass and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the new upgrade is all about. And with, of course, Siri AI coming in, like I said, it's going to be popping out of the dynamic island on iPhones, for example, and it's going to be superb when it comes to readability and the interface that it's going to provide with all our users until now. So as most of you I'm sure must have watched the entire conference like me last night, you do realize that the developer betas are available starting today, right? And the public betas for the 27 operating software series is available the coming month. I will recommend that you wait till the final software update is out, probably and most likely in September, primarily because if you're not a person who enjoys having these bugs, or if you're not a person who enjoys or does not like rather any of these operating software to have a lot of glitches, it can get a bit annoying, because I did try and download iOS 26, the beta on my phone, and unfortunately I got rid of it in about a week's time and got back to iOS 18. So I would strongly recommend that you guys wait for September and enjoy the software to its peak capability. Coming to iOS 27, right? This focuses heavily on performance, UI generation, and customization across all your iPhones, basically. But at the same time, it also does a fantastic job when it comes to ensuring that any device that's compatible with iOS 27, it's going to be really, really smooth and very snappy and responsive. So that is something that I'm really excited to see, because mine's a 13 Pro Max, and of course the CPU is slightly older than the current generation models. But what Apple is ensuring, or rather what Apple is assuring, is that there still will be a 30% performance improvement even in the older iPhones. So I'm really excited to see how the CPU is going to get integrated with iOS 27 in ensuring that the phones are really fast, and I can only imagine how amazing it's going to be on the 17 Pro or the 18 Pro series. Now, coming to network and Wi-Fi, they have obviously upgraded quite a bit of it when it comes to handoff from Wi-Fi to cellular data. For example, when you step out of home, the transition between the two is going to be faster. And apparently, AirDrop is going to be 80 times faster when it comes to transferring files, photos, any of the thing that you prefer using, because I use a lot of AirDrop. One of the reasons being that photos, for example, when I AirDrop it from one iPhone to another, there is no dip in quality, and that's fantastic. So these are some minor upgrades, but the liquid glass is something that's really bowled me over. And of course, Siri AI integration on iOS devices. When it comes to Apple Intelligence on iOS 27, if, for example, you're making a call to a business, right? The most relevant email or the most relevant details would pop up on your phone, which is really interesting. You don't have to go back to search, because if you have a call that you have to make, say, supposing to any business, right? Not able to get a name, but the most recent mail and the most recent details of that particular call would pop up, so that when you're speaking to this person, you have it right at your fingertip. So that's really helpful. Now, I'm not a person who uses a lot of Siri shortcuts, but I did hear that it's really helpful. So if you are a person who uses Siri shortcuts, please do let me know in the comments below, and let me know what easy shortcut I can use to ensure that my use with the Apple product is a lot more seamless. But an update that's come out with Siri shortcuts is now you can use complex statements or complex tasks which can be turned into an automation. For example, if you tell Siri to create a shortcut where you say, create an alarm for an event that was happening last evening, or say tomorrow evening, right? The alarm would then look at tomorrow evening's schedule and then set it accordingly to ensure that it gives you the app data and the app information that is required for you during that particular time. So overall, on iOS 27, what really excited me the most is the drag to converse with Siri, right? On Siri AI or devices that are compatible with Siri AI, you can just ask for a particular, or say, give it a particular task. And when it gives you a response, you can just drag the screen down and type. And now that's going to look a lot more like ChatGPT or Perplexity, to be very honest. But I think this is Apple's way of moving forward, right, to make things easier. And I'm sure that right now they've not given any sort of information on if there is going to be a subscription, because stuff like Perplexity charge you about 19,000 rupees a year. So I don't know how Siri AI is going to work, but to be very frank with you, I have a very strong feeling that it's going to be a free app. But even if there are charges, I'm dead sure that people will definitely subscribe to it. Now, coming to macOS 27. Now, here's where things get interesting. First off, Apple has renamed macOS 27 to Golden Gate, right? And this heavily focuses on system stabilization. Again, the whole Apple Intelligence being converted to Siri AI, for example. But however, here, as a lot of Mac users know, when you just want to search for something real quick on your Mac, you just press the command and spacebar, which is a quick shortcut to Spotlight. So Spotlight is now the new chat box, right? You have Siri AI that's integrated to Spotlight, which means whatever questions and answers that you need is just a click away. You don't have the type to Siri option anymore coming with macOS 27. So it is really interesting if you actually look at it overall. Of course, the liquid glass changes obviously will come on to macOS 27 as well. And I honestly really love how the interface of macOS 26 is right now. And obviously, this is going to be a step ahead. Right. So Apple Intelligence offers greater context across MacBooks now, right? By this I mean to say, it can auto-schedule any sort of event that's lined up by when you go, for example, into your mail or your messages, right? It can auto-schedule events basis the context that's present in the body of the mail or on messages. So this is really helpful. You don't really have to go back to Siri and say, please set a reminder, etc. I'm sure that there's going to be an option where you just click yes or add to calendar and it's all ready for you without really stretching the process. So it's going to be very simple and very smart, and that's super interesting because this again is linked to iCloud, which means it's going to be across all your devices that you own or possess. Again, like I said, on macOS 27, liquid glass is definitely going to make a huge impact. And you do have an option where you can keep it completely tinted or you can completely make it transparent. So it's going to be something that it may look like before, but at the same time, you have an option where you want it to look like how it looked on macOS 26. This is going to be really effective for people who didn't like the liquid glass. And like I said, I personally love it, so I think I'm going to keep it on full transparent mode. There's another interesting feature that I really am looking forward to, which is edge-to-edge sidebars. So the sidebar now can be extended to the end of the window, where now you can possibly see it through a beautiful way of refraction. So the colors of the sidebar icons will still retain rather than getting smudged into the background. So this is something that, again, if you have an attention to detail, it's going to be really interesting for you to be able to use. Lastly, macOS 27 now has a firm footing in Apple's silicon emphasis, which means Intel is now out. So any of you using a MacBook series which is running on Intel will no longer be able to support any of these operating software with all its cool features. So this clearly means that it's time to upgrade, because from what I remember, I think the M series came out about 6 years ago. So it is quite a long time. For example, my wife's laptop is my old MacBook Pro, Intel i5. It's the Touch Bar edition. It looks really cool, and I really wish that the Touch Bar was still a feature that Apple could give on the current Macs. But again, it's all about evolution, right? When it comes to technology. So it's time for any of you to upgrade, because Intel is a done era for Apple, and now the prime focus and emphasis is only going to be on Apple Silicon. Like iOS 27 and macOS 27, Apple did not give a dedicated segment for watchOS, and now I love my Apple Watch, and I'm sure there are millions of people in the globe who love their Apple Watch. But I'm dead sure that liquid glass, again, the enhancements that are made onto these operating software will come on to watchOS, and at the same time a couple of gesture related stuff. So for example, if you have a stack of apps, you can just use them by doing the gesture of the index finger and the thumb finger. I use the fitness app when it reminds me to, but I don't really use it to go and say I'm doing a long run or any of that stuff. But it does bring a lot of enhancements on the fitness app when it comes to readability. Now the other thing that really intrigued me when I read up on the website is the dynamic app grid, right? This is a particular feature. When you click on the digital crown, it's going to show you the 5 most recent apps that you used. So it gets a lot more easier than going and trying to hunt for what exactly you're looking for. So this makes accessibility a lot more easier in watchOS 27. Again, Siri AI makes its way into watchOS 27 as well, which clearly means that there is an app integrated with the coming update that is due possibly in September. where you can now have a single conversation or a thread of conversation with Siri from your wrist, which is even more convenient than pulling out your phone. For example, when you're driving, you can just go on and on about whatever you want to know, whatever you want to ask, or whatever you want Siri to help you out with from your wrist. So that's a very powerful tool. Metrics on the Apple Watch have seemed to have been improved a lot, right? Now, by this I mean to say, when it comes to improved fitness tracker, when it comes to improved treadmill tracker. Now, lastly, coming to tvOS27. It was completely absent from WWDC 2026, so I'm not too sure what kind of importance Apple has about the Apple TV, but I'm dead sure that the software updates will slowly slide in and make it a lot more convenient for users like me. Liquid glass for sure. I don't know how Siri is going to be integrated because I'm not sure if this particular model is Apple Intelligence compatible. But I really hope that there is a way that Apple Intelligence finds its way into Apple TV, because right now I use Siri a lot on the TV as well, and it's going to be a lot more convenient for people to be able to do tasks or everyday tasks while the TV is on and make it a lot more seamless. Another thing that I really pray and hope that makes its way to or finds its way to the Indian market is Apple Wallet. Now, Apple Pay is something that's been very controversial due to the RFIDs and due to a lot of RBI norms that they've been having to face. But I really hope that because Samsung Pay is already out and it's doing a fantastic job, I really hope that for users like us who are on Apple ecosystem, Apple Pay is something so seamless. And I've seen many videos online of people who have been able to use Apple Pay for various modes of payment. So that is something that will bring about a huge change in the upcoming software, and I really pray and hope that Apple does consider this as one particular request from all the Apple users on behalf of me. So, barring all of these main updates, well, of course, visionOS27 also came out with a huge update where you don't have to click on Siri anymore. But I've seen a lot of videos where people, and it's really cool, right? I mean, you're able to see the whole entire interface, but that's the max you can do. I don't know how much of usage it's going to have on a day-to-day basis, but you don't have to click on Siri anymore or pretend to click on Siri anymore. It's going to be looking at Siri and giving your tasks. That was one really cool feature that came about on visionOS. For people who have AirPods, which I'm sure many of you do, now you can have your own custom equalization. So, which clearly means that you have a graph like they showed where you can adjust the high, the mid and the treble according to what suits you. And personally, I feel Apple's equalizer is really well balanced. It has a very decent throw of bass, not too much, and it has a very good balance when it comes to the mid and treble. So for people who are very particular about their music, this is another feature that might help you enhance your way of listening to music. Although I own the HomePod from 2019, if I'm not wrong, I really feel that Apple needs to come out with a solid update to ensure that HomePod users like me don't face that irritable issue of it pausing every 30 seconds to 45 seconds. The Airtel mesh that I use is giving me up to 500 Mbps of speed. And even then, you know, wherever I place the HomePod, and if I'm trying to stream through my iPhone, I do face issues of music stopping abruptly. When I went on Reddit, I did realize that lossless music is something that needs to be turned off. But if I do that, the whole quality of music, apart from Dolby Atmos, goes down as well. So I didn't want to do that. If there is a way that Apple, if Apple is hearing me, if there is a way that you can bring out a beautiful update where the HomePod stops when you want it to stop, and it does everything that it needs to do on a regular basis, I will consider it the best smart speaker, because the output that you get on the HomePod is unparalleled, right? So this was my quick recap of WWDC 2026. Today is the 9th of June. If you like this video, please make sure you subscribe, like, and share it. It was a quick recap on what all happened last night. And as always, as a tech lover and a big Apple fanboy, I'm waiting to see what Apple brings out in September. Until next time, I will see you in the next video. Stay tuned, guys. Take it easy.